Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection. It's Saturday afternoon and evening. Maybe it's morning for some of you. Could be. For us, it's afternoon and evening. Thanks for everybody for joining us here on your weekends alongside my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Steven Reid and Simon Bray. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello. Evening.
Okay. So we were just lamenting before we started recording this here episode that this little experiment that we test ourselves with this week was extremely difficult. We still don't have a handle on it. And I guess that is a testament to the great catalog of this band. So it's favorite and least favorite albums week. And of course, the band is Saxon, as Mr. Steven is so proudly wearing on his shirt. I just realized out of the hundreds of band shirts that I own, I don't have a Saxon one. So I'm like, well, at least let me go pick a fellow British band. So I'm wearing a little Judas Priest today. But yeah, so very hard. As all three of us basically admitted to each other, we are in firm agreement that we believe this band does not have any bad albums. And they have a lot of really great ones. So picking two favorites and two least favorites, let alone the freaking wild card, extremely hard. I've changed my list 10 times in the last like 48 hours. And every time I look at them sitting here and I'm like, but I'm not doing it anymore. I picked them, I'm leaving it alone. And it'll be interesting to see how similar we are or not, right? I mean, I think we probably could all agree too that this catalog, really great early on, really strong in the mid period, and really great latter period. Once again, at least that's the way I look at it, but there's no weak period. There's maybe for me a couple of albums that are fun but not classics, but they're all pretty good for the most part. Well, like in other words, no stinker at all.
No stinker.
No stinker.
Okay.
No stinker. But again, let's point out we're going with favorites.
Yes.
Yep.
Favorites
and least favorites, not best and worst.
Right. Yeah.
Different things.
Yeah.
I'm also going to cheat, so I've got that out early.
Okay. Yeah, I'm mentioning all 23 albums at some point.
Yeah. Got a pile of DVDs down here as well. Yeah.
Right. Beverages of choice today, gentlemen.
What have you got, Simon?
I'm glad you asked because, of course, I've got one. I went to Lincoln recently. Yeah, went to the cathedral. Very nice place. Enjoyed it very much. Big steep hill. I got a bottle of Fido, and I thought to myself, why has it not got a picture of a dog on?
Yeah.
Exactamundo. Well, let me tell you, my esteemed colleagues, that Fido is actually a pale amber bitter, but we don't care about that really. It's a system used for dispersing fog from an airfield during World War II.
Oh,
Fido.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Educational. This is good.
Airfield, not a dog.
Okay. Yeah.
So what's the brewery, Simon? Sorry?
The brewery is Ferry Ales from Fiskerton, Lincoln.
Never heard of that. That's a great looking label.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, really.
I knew you'd like that, Stephen, because you like that kind of stuff.
I do like that kind of stuff. Yes, I really do. Absolutely.
I'm going to pour it underneath the thing right now, and unlike some people, it's not going to be a massive head on it. And if there is, I won't pull it up for another 15 minutes. If there is,
please.
I'll see you in 15 minutes.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Okay. In that time, Stephen and I can talk about our beverages. Then you'll be.
Yes, I am back to the Redcastle Brewery at Carmiley on the east coast of Scotland, and I have a beer here that can fight the good fight. It will believe what is right. Crusader, the Lord of the Realm. And it can fight the good fight with all of your might. Crusader, Lord of the Realm. That's what
I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, yeah, I just, making things up on the hoof now.
Yes, making shit up. I don't get it.
Crusader. Anyway, sorry. And it looks something like this in the glass. As you can see, I've started a little early because both bottles are empty. And they don't quite fit in here, so I've forced myself to empty one of the bottles into here already. So hence the singing this early in the show.
If you think I didn't notice one of those bottles is empty, I got a bridge to sell you. I saw that, sir. That's okay. That's all right. So Mrs. Pardo and I actually frequented a brewery this past Saturday. I've actually been there many times, but not in probably since last fall. The brewery is called Rushing Duck. And the beer is called Chet Pils Premium Chester Style Lager. It's actually like a Czechoslovakian Pilsner. Come in this kind of cool little can. There's the Rushing Duck logo. Nice big can here. Very good, clean drinking lager beer. And I'm actually going to drink it in a glass that was given to me from Dan Brown from the Warehouse, who's frequently on the Monsters Den here on the channel. And this is an old Newcastle beer called Werewolf, which was out a couple of years ago, maybe a little more than a couple of years ago. Very cool, like amber lager that they don't make any, that Newcastle doesn't make anymore, but they came in a really cool bottle with a werewolf on it and everything. It was very red. It was like a red ale, but he had a bunch of promo glasses and he was nice enough to give you one of these. So that is what I'm having. I'm having a Chet Pils.
Nice. Looks very nice indeed. So how did things proceed, Simon?
Sorry?
How did things proceed?
Currently looks like I'm about to have a milkshake.
That's taken a while.
It must be in the air this evening, because the reason that I have both in here is because when I first poured it, I was down here somewhere. Oh, look at that. See, look at that. That's the way.
I'm practicing.
I will say this is quite good. I like a good like Pilsner that has lots of flavor. This is not a Coors Light or a Budweiser, folks. This is really, really good. And I really like German and Czech Pilsners. That's kind of what I've been enjoying over the last couple of months. And this is definitely in that style.
Looks great. Looks absolutely great beer.
Mm-hmm.
Like the glass too, I have to say.
Yeah, it's a nice glass. So very cool. All right, now that we got that out of the way, back to Saxon. So, Steven, I'm going to have you kick us off today. So, your two favorites, not best, favorites.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've had a fight with myself all week, all fortnight, all for however long since we've mentioned this. Yeah, and I lost, Simon. I absolutely lost.
Jesus.
Because I know that the answer should come from this. Okay, I have no idea who Helen is, by the way. This name was on this record when I bought it secondhand a long time ago. Okay, I'm sure she's lovely. Okay, or it should come from this, or it should come from this, and therefore it's this. Okay. Now we do emphasize this is favorites we're talking about. So we're in 1985. This is Innocence Is No Excuse. Okay, so I was 13 when this album came out. Okay, so for a variety of reasons, an album like this could have an impact on me when I was 13. Now, I remember my physics jotter at school was covered with the black and white poster that came with the Back on the Street single, which had this lovely lady in a rather tight leather dress on it. Do you know, which made me, I was edgy back then. That's how edgy I was. My teachers would go when I would hand in my homework. Okay. But I loved this album. This was the album that I took round all of my friends' houses. This was the album that we listened to. This was our Saxon album, because this was the one that came out when we were getting into this kind of music, realistically. And then, for a long time, I listened to, or took notice of, the UK metal press, because they were happy to tell us that by the stage that this came out, this band were done. All their best days were already behind them, and the glory days were long gone, long gone. And it's only in recent years that I've come back to this kind of thinking, you know, will it bring back those kind of same memories, and will it mean the same sort of things to me as it did back then? Bloody hell, it's a great album. This is a great album, you know, and it's one of the kind of unsung ones. It's beyond what most people class as the classic era of Saxon. But when you open up the album with Rockin' Again, with its nice atmospheric intro, going to Call of the Wild. It's the Call of the Wild. Back on the Streets was a great single. I absolutely adore See the Devil Ride Out. And Rock and Roll Gypsy is a great song. What a side one. And then you've got Broken Heroes on side two. Took me years to even work out that side two was a thing on this, because I like side one so much. The glories of vinyl, when you could basically not realize there was another 4 songs, 5 songs, 6 songs on an album, and you just got totally fixated by one side of an album. But yeah, okay, going to shout, Everybody Up's quite good. Raise Some Hell, yeah, not brilliant. And then Give It Everything You've Got closes the album out in fantastic fashion. And I've always had a thing for the back. I like the back, don't really know why. It's an odd looking thing. And I love the logo. I love the logo. We'll come back to that later on, because they've been pretty faithful to this. I love the logo. So my first choice is Innocence Is No Excuse. And I make no excuses for it. I absolutely adore this album. Favorites, not best everybody, okay?
For those of you who've been watching the Hudson Valley Squares of late, we did an episode recently where we talked about on the bandwagon, off the bandwagon. And in the 80s, for me, I was a big Saxon fan, bought that album, liked it a lot, and then for some strange reason, didn't buy another Saxon album for almost 20 years. For no reason. I liked it a lot. But all of a sudden here in the States, the record labels and the critics and the fans just kind of assumed that Saxon were kind of done. And so I just went and listened to other things, and you didn't see their albums in the stores here anymore or anything like that. And I didn't try too hard to get other ones. I just kind of forgot all about them. But in looking back on it now, that's a really good album. There's no reason for me to stop buying them and following them. I just did. So yeah, it's a great choice.
As we see on the channel, more about that later, because it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really just a US thing where Saxon's profile changed around this time. There was lots of factors. So for my second favourites, not my second favourite, but one of my 2 favourites, because splitting these is, my favourites include another 6 or 7, realistically. I could easily have chosen 6 or 7. So these are just the 2 that I have decided to highlight on the show. So not one is my favourite and one is not. But I had to come to a latter era album. Now, by latter era, I am talking 20 years. Okay, because we're old, so these albums all feel that they were released in the last 5 minutes. Okay, because that's the way that it works. Old albums were released a long time ago. Albums were in the last 20 years, basically last week. Okay, so really, I narrowed this down to 2 or 3 that I really wanted to highlight, because to me, what they did was they heralded in the real renaissance of Saxon here in the UK, because they were, as we covered very recently on a gigs show that we did, I saw Saxon in a tiny little venue in Glasgow called King Tut's Wawa Hut, around the same time that they were headlining Wacken in Europe, right? So we're going from probably 20,000 to 200, right? And they put on a phenomenal show, because we saw a band that should never have been playing that size of room, play that size of room. But to me, it was around about the point of this album where things started to turn around for the band. And they did, to be fair, kind of refine their sound a little bit. I think that the Saxon sound is there from the start, not on all of the debut, but from the start, right the way through to Carpe Diem, right the way through to the brand new album. But I do think that roughly round about here, or Killing Ground, I think that they added a tougher, slightly more, and it's because that's where their market was, slightly more European edge to the sound. There's a little bit of Euro power metal in there, but there's still a very British, or I really should say English sounding band, and always have done. Biff Byford's amazing vocals pretty much guarantee that, has to be said. But on Lionheart, excuse me, there are songs like Witchfinder General. The title track is just fantastic. To Live by the Sword, To Die by the Sword, Jack Tars. And then you've got something that Saxon do really well. You've got one of those slower, more atmospheric songs. You've got Searching for Atlantis. And I absolutely love that. It really highlights, I think, the vocal strength that Biff Byford's got. But I really think that the lineup, and admittedly, this is an album that doesn't feature Nigel Glockler, who's been with the band most of the time from the mid-80s all the way through, with a couple of times where he's not been with the band. But realistically, the lineup around this stage and up to now is so solid, and it's been together for so long, that I think it's really got to be recognised, in my humble opinion now, as we're now actually watching the classic era of Saxon in those terms. Because I don't think that the band have been as consistent at any other point than they have been in the last 20 years. That's my own personal take on it. I like everything in this catalogue, everything. And I know that some people may have an issue with one or two albums, which I'm guessing we'll come to at some point, maybe different points for us all, but we'll come to them at some point. But my take is that what we're listening to right now is as good as any other era of this band. And I would argue it's more consistent. I think that albums from start to finish are more consistent. And I think the run of albums over the last 20 years is more consistent than at any other stage of this band. So my favourite two are Innocence Is No Excuse from 1985, and then 19 years later, Lionheart from 2004, which was the 16th studio album by the band.
Yeah.
So an amazing level of consistency there.
What's even amazing is that you picked as your top two favorites my On the Bandwagon album and my Off the Bandwagon and On the Bandwagon albums, because I came back to Saxon with Lionheart.
Yeah, I really see Lionheart as an album that did herald in that kind of second wind that they really do seem to have picked up for the last 20 plus years now. As I say, both at home and abroad, but really Europe has been really faithful to this band all the way through, and vice versa. To be fair, Saxon have worked really hard in Europe to maintain that. And thankfully in that territory, they have always, it would appear, maintained the success that the music and the work ethic has deserved, because this band has never gone away, never hid, never stopped playing live. They do what they're meant to be doing. So there you go. That's my top two.
I'd say, it's funny. I have like their discography. I'm looking right at it. And you maybe could say that it's been 25 years of pretty excellent albums, and a couple of the ones before that are good, but, but it's, Killing Ground, Lionheart, Inner Sanctum, Into the Labyrinth, Cold Arms, Sacrifice, Battering Ram, Thunderbolt, Carpe Diem. You could go back to Metalhead and Unleash the Beast, and some people love Dogs of War. I mean, there's not much to sneeze at in this catalog. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
The other two albums from roughly this kind of era that I looked at as including it as the turning point, Killing Ground, because to me that and Lionheart are really very much like that. They feel very joined in their sound, their look, everything about them. And Into the Labyrinth, because I just think the standard of the song on that album is outstandingly good. But this was the one where really we saw them on this tour playing a tiny venue, and the next time we saw them on the next tour, they were playing something roughly 10 times the size of it. So that's why I plumped for it.
Cool. All right, Simon.
Can I just ask, with your copy of Lionheart, did you get a patch?
Yes, because I also do have this one.
Yeah.
Okay, which comes with the nice patch, because my Lionheart vinyl comes out of this ginormous thing, which houses everything from Solid Ball of Rock right the way Into the Labyrinth. And I'll touch on this a little bit later as well, because they changed the artwork slightly for what's in here on some of them. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to that segment of the show. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Anyway, so Lionheart was very much in the mix. What a great record. Yeah, it's just really good. I remember playing it over and over and over again, and then I played it a little bit more. Just seriously, what a great! If this had been one of their early albums, people would be saying this is a stone cold, absolute classic. But because it was made, recently, and by that I mean 18 years ago, and because they were no longer flavor of the month, then it kind of gets lost in the metaphorical pack, doesn't it? And it's an absolutely outstandingly great record. It really is. Yeah, I just thought I'd point that out because it's not one of my choices. No, I'm going to go slightly off piste at least once on this. I would like to give a little bit of love to the Inner Sanctum. That's shiny, isn't it? The Inner, not that keen on the cover. A bit dark, could be a bit lightened up. But yeah, tune-wise, what a great sounding record.
Yeah.
Just in your, just no, it's just not the best. It looks better on vinyl than it does on the thing. Probably plays better. But anyhow, yeah, State of Grace, Need for Speed, Let Me Feel Your Power, Red Star Falling. What an unbelievably great tune. Thank you, Stephen. Unfeasibly good. I've Got to Rock to Stay Alive. If I Was You, the album version. There'll be more about If I Was You in a few minutes' time. Going Nowhere Fast. Just metal as fuck. What a great record. It isn't it? And I think that rather than like Judas Priest, they made a conscious decision at one point to go, do you know what? People want metal from us, so let's metal the fuck out of the situation forever.
Yeah. I would say,
God, that they did, because this is just off the scale, brilliant. It really, I've gone back to this, and I have absolutely loved it for the last. I think we've really been talking about this for 5 or 6 weeks, haven't we? Really. And wow, yeah, you remember I was annoying the neighbours last week? Well, this weekend, I'm surprised they haven't phoned the police. Yeah. I really am.
Knock at the door. Will you turn that damn Saxon CD off, for crying out loud?
Yeah, and I've said, Sting, what are you doing at the door, my friend? But
hey.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be here all week. It's just a really, really, really good metal album. I just love it so much. Just riff-tastic. And that's what I think Saxon make arguably more than any other band that I really like. They've got moments that are just so Stetson squealingly exciting. I have not chosen Wheels of Steel, but if you can tell me 2 songs that are next to each other on an album, young people, this isn't what we call an album. Yes. Side 1, 747, Strangers in the Night, Wheels of Steel. If you can come up with 2 more exciting intros to songs than that, then email Pete Pardo rather than me. But nonetheless, Saxon do moments and riffs really, really well. Yeah. They really do. But I thought I'd put that to one side. And now this is a segment of the show I like to go, Simon goes off piste a little bit. Are we ready? Because my other choice is, drum roll, please. Very quiet drum rolls. I like that. Yes, indeed. Could you just use a bit more of your kit there, Stephen? Imagine you're in Dream Theater or something. Fantastic, outstanding work.
You said Dream Theater. I'll have to keep going for at least 10 minutes.
I'll just set them up and you knock them down.
Some double bass too.
Thank you. I have got so much love for Are We Ready? And I know most people don't. Destiny. What a lovely, fluffy record it is. Clearly, somebody said to Sack. Right now, everyone, when I finish this sentence, what you need to do is pause this video, go to YouTube, type in Saxon Ride Like the Wind, watch that video, and once you stop pissing yourself laughing, come back and have a word. Jesus Christ. I mean, holy shit. Have you seen the hair on Biff on that one? Have you seen the hair? Have you? And the headband? Oh my God. And
he loved the headband. He loved the headband back then.
Oh my God, yeah. And the male gaze cinematography and everything. Fantastic. Really a record and a video of its time. But it's just so light and fluffy, yet metallic. It's just, and who'd have thought? What does Saxon really need, kids? That's right. They need to sound like Foreigner. That's right. Yeah, that's it. And they need stabby keyboards occasionally.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, Calm Before the Storm. Okay, it actually goes den 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 den. That's. I mean, it's one of the best keyboard breaks you're going to find anywhere.
Yeah, It's just great. And yet when they want to be, they can be Metallica's folk, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Jericho Siren's a great song. And yet it's just really, really fluffy like a Europe record in places. And I think it's in many ways, I know that round about that time, clearly they said, look, fellas, you've got to try and break America, because you're a bunch of sexy looking dudes. You're going to go down well on MTV. Yeah, I'm seeing what you're doing there, Stephen. Fluff it up, big up the hair, but the actual songwriting is outstanding. Just great songs with great tunes, great melodies. The riffs are still there, but couched in what could only be described as a bombastic late 1980s production. Well, I know that a certain Mr. Allo doesn't like this, but I'm going to against the grain for one. And this is a super record. And the 12-inch, because this is the one with the bonus tracks, the 12-inch remix of I Can't Wait Anymore. It's just so nice and lovely. You just wrap your little ears around it. It just makes me feel all warm inside. Does the entire. Didn't say it made me feel like that, Stephen, but we'll go with it. Yeah. I know it's not most people's favorite, but it's my favorite. I'm not saying it's the best.
Correct.
This is the
there
best.
you go.
This is fucking awesome. But
Yeah.
This is the one that over the past 6 weeks I have listened to every day. I've listened to all the albums, and I've gone back to that one after the others every day for the last 6-7 weeks.
Cool.
Destiny. If you like Foreigner or Bad Company or mid-80s keyboard driven rock, Survivor, go for it. Yeah, just saying.
You guys may wonder why I keep looking out my window. I don't know why it is, but it seems like every week when we tape, it rains here in New York.
Every Saturday.
Every Saturday where you guys are talking, and all of a sudden I hear, and I look out my window and I'm like, it's raining again. Every time I talk to you, have the UK that whole like UK thing is like, well, it's UK connection, so if it's going to be raining by them, it's got to be raining here too, right? So I
believe, Peter, that'll be because you have what we call a heavy metal thunder.
There you go. Very good. Very good. All right, my favorites. This was very difficult. Very difficult. So again, as someone who went off the bandwagon for a number of years, obviously my thinking might be a little different than the both of you who kind of stayed with them all those years. I listened to them a lot in the beginning, then I went away for a while, and I've been playing catch up ever since. But I came back also right around Lionheart time, and I've been listening to these more recent albums a ton. So it's like, well, which way do I go? Which way did he go, George? Which way did he go? I ultimately went for my first choice. Call it loyalty, nostalgia, I don't know. I ultimately went with Denim and Leather, which, I mean, that second, third, and fourth albums, which many people deem as their real classic. You have the kind of strange first one, right? And then you got the next three. They're all really great, and they all have their classic songs on them. I don't think the other two are as top to bottom as strong as this one is. I mean, Princess of the, any album that has Princess of the Night, Never Surrender, Play It Loud, and the bands played on, Fire in the Sky, and Denim and Leather automatically has to win for me. Everything else is really good on this too. And this is a really, really heavy album. I think it's their heaviest of the early albums. And I love it. I think it's really good. I never understood why the title track hasn't been deemed like a heavy metal classic. They have all these other, Wheels of Steel and Strong Arm of the Law and Machine Gun and all those other great songs. But I always thought Denim and Leather was as good, if not better, than any of them. But man, Princess of the Night might be my favorite Saxon song of all time. It's on here. Fire in the Sky is great. Even better, I think, on the live album. But yeah, so that's my first choice. And my second choice, again, this was hard because part of me wanted to do one old and one new, or newer. Again, yeah, new. Us old guys always say new, right? And it could be 30 years old, right, at this point, right? Because we've been on the planet for quite a long time. So new is 30 years is new, right? But I ultimately went back to the 80s again. And I've always really liked this album a lot, liked it back in the day, loved it back in the day. I think I appreciate it even more now. And I went with Power and the Glory. I re-listened to it at the gym the other day. No, yesterday. And I was like, yeah, I think that's going to be in my top two. Love the title track. Redline is great. Warrior Came, Warrior Saw, Warrior Conquered. I mean, come on, what a great song that is. How about Nightmare? Holy moly, is Nightmare great. So melodic, so singable. This town knows how to rock. Yes, it does. Watching the Sky, Midas touched, and the eagle has landed. Oh, so good. So good. I love the guitar playing on here. Biff sounds amazing. And, I often look back at Paul Quinn and Graham Oliver as two of like the unsung, like twin lead guitar players from this era that never really got any due. It's like everybody always wanted to talk about, Tipton and KK and the guys from Maiden, but had two really special guys in this band. They still do to this day, right? Graham's not with them anymore, but so those are my two picks: Denim and Leather and Power and the Glory. My top two. Back to Steven.
Okay, so least favorite. Now, favorite was difficult. Least favorite in a catalogue where I dislike nothing, and also where I basically came in at the era that a lot of people may have a slight issue with, makes this stupidly difficult. Okay, because, as I say, from me, for Killing Ground onwards, I mean, there's not a foot wrong there. There's not a foot wrong there. So I can immediately discount 20 years worth almost of the band, realistically. It's got, it's further over than Simon can even see, right? But you obviously can't include the really early classic era. And the debut is what it is. It holds a special place in my heart. So I know what the answer should be. The answer should be this. Okay, so Rock the Nations. That's what the answer should be. Because if you were to pin me down and force me to tell you which album is the one that's maybe weaker than others, it's probably this fella here. But I can't hate an album with this cover. I just can't. Okay, I mean, it's got the biggest
cool
crowd.
cover. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's got the biggest crowd in the history of anything. Okay, right? It's got all these flags on it. I'm a sucker for a flag. I like flags. Okay, I mean, look at the eagle. Look at it. It's awesome, right?
It is the best Manowar album cover that there's been.
Absolutely.
There was at that point, wasn't it?
That is exactly what it is. This is a precursor for what Manowar would think.
And that
was
logo,
cool.
come on, that logo. Oof.
Yes, absolutely. So I can't choose this. It's probably the weakest album, and it's the weakest album because it's got things like Party Till You Puke on it. Thanks, Elton. I mean, Mr. Elton John plays piano on that, and it's utter fluff. It's fluff. It's not rubbish. It's fluff. I bought the singles for Rock the Nations. I bought Northern Ladies. I think Waiting for the Night was the other single. They had great themed artwork on them. I can't make this a least favourite, okay? And that leaves a problem. Because I'm not going with the debut, and I'm not going with Rock the Nations. So where do you go? Well, where you go is you skewer Peter is where you go. Yes,
I thought you were going with that.
No, see, more on that later, right? More on that later.
In a minute.
And that shows you the strength of this catalogue. Because I can't fault anything on here. It's not a bad song on this album. There's nothing here that I don't like. This Town Rocks, classic. Power and the Glory, it's a classic. I'm okay with the rest of it. I mean, I don't dislike anything here. Nightmare, I mean, it's excellent. Redline,
Where were you? Causing a nightmare.
So we're coming down to things like, I haven't played this album as much as I have a lot of the other ones. We're coming down to things like, I mean, that's a shit album cover, right? You've got a logo like this, and it's done up like a fab lolly or something like that. It's just, right? Don't do that when you've got the best S in all of heavy metal history. I mean, you don't make it look like it was on the front of My Little Pony or something along those lines. Okay, And what this is meant to be, I don't quite know. I mean, what is this kind of dwarf hand thing? I mean, look, fingers are longer than that. Okay, even on my fat hands, fingers are longer than that. So it comes down to things like, just exactly what is this thing that's here? I mean, it's a helmet. I mean, that's a Suntaran, is what that is. Okay, so it's coming down to things like that because I don't dislike anything here. So my first least favorite of albums that I still like is The Power and the Glory. Okay, and you see how tenuous this is getting, because my second least favorite, second choice for least favorite, goes to 1992. It goes to album number 11, and for similar reasons, because this is the band at a low ebb. I understand that the melodic rock era is what most Saxon fans, heavy metal fans, will say, nah, they were nonsense then, okay? They weren't to me, more on that later, okay? But I mean, we're on Warhammer Records at this stage, okay? I mean, it really is Warhammer artwork that's here, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. The Warhammer artwork is cool, in the right place. The right place is not on the front of Forever Free. It really isn't. It cheapens the album right from the off. You immediately look at it and go, nonsense. So then they reissue it in my fantastic box that's here, okay? And yet, even with Destiny, they don't have the Saxon logo, but they have the S. They understand the value of the brand. So they've kept the S on the reissue. What's this? Just exactly what is that? What is that? Right? So, and that's as a garbage cover as well. So we've got garbage cover, garbage cover. So if you're going to reissue it and say, well, do you know what, actually what we need is a good cover, I mean, all you get to do is open the CD. All you have to do is open the CD and it's right there staring at you in the face. Okay? So that's nonsense. But then when you add in a cover of I just want to make love to you, I mean, that to me is one of the few songs in this catalogue that I really don't need to hear. I don't need to hear it. It's not big and it's not clever. So just don't do it.
Terrible.
It's as simple as that. But then again, the title track is Heavy Metal Thunder. Forever Free is fantastic. It's a great song. Can't Stop Rocking, great song. There's loads of great songs on here. I genuinely don't dislike a single album that any of the three of us can talk about here. I really don't. And it's coming down to things like, I mean, he's still wearing that bloody headband, right? Okay, I mean, come on now, we're in 1992 here now, okay? He's not even hiding going bald. He's still got a full head of hair. I mean, come on, nobody likes to show off. But I mean, realistically, what's that all about? So yeah, pedantic, it's nonsense, it's not about the music. My least favourite Saxon albums are coming down to things like, well, that looks nonsense, because what it sounds like is pretty damn good. So that's my two.
Maybe in a couple of weeks I'll forgive you about Power and the Glory.
Well, I couldn't believe it when you picked it out and I was like, oh no, I'm following that.
Here we go.
I thought, can I do a quick switch? And I thought, no, because I like it all too much.
That's all right. That's all right. We all hear things differently, right? All right, Simon, your bottom two.
Do we not hear things differently, Simon? No.
I've just got this treatise that I'm typing out right now. It'll be in the comments really soon. Yeah. Yes, my least is that going with least. We are going with least favorites. I'm definitely 100% going to cheat very, very shortly. I can 100% live without Inspirations. I can live without code. I can live without code. See what I did there, because it's not, it's a Saxon album, but they're not really Saxon songs. I did enjoy. I do feel like Evil Woman needed Saxoning up. I do.
I'm going to, excuse me interrupting, Simon, because I'm going to admit something. That I put a picture up on Twitter today of my Saxon collection to say to people, this is what we're doing at the weekend, and this is what's coming. But it's not in that picture because I haven't bought it, because it's a bloody book cover.
Me neither. So it's shooting fish in a barrel. This, and I've certainly listened to it. I'm very, very confident I'll never listen to it again. Did Hold the Line need to be Saxoned? Probably, but once I've heard it, never again. Yep. I don't need to hear any more versions of Bomber or Speaking. You know, it is what it is. You know, it exists. It happened during lockdown. It kept them going. Fair dues. I just don't need it.
And it's going into the pile with that new Deep Purple covers album, right? Listen once or twice.
There'll be more on Deep Purple in a few weeks' time, and their cover album.
That's right.
Yeah, that's really easy to slag off cover albums, isn't it? I've really found my métier.
That's the easy way out, Simon. I'm really disappointed in you.
Because
Really.
they're shit. They're shit. It just betrays a lack of ideas. There you go.
It does, absolutely it does. I'm in complete agreement. Basically, all covers albums, and somebody's going to complain in the comments, should be just put in the bin.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'm going to lay into, and I think we've referenced this before. I'm going to lay into. It's not an album. Oh no, it's the single. If I Was You.
Yes.
Yes, it doesn't actually say eunuch version. It's a single version, but you know, we'll go with. I'm going with eunuch version. Album version's much better. You know, why? We know why they did this shit, don't we? Yep. You know, they got themselves on telly and stuff, and you know, like you're saying, you know, if you play, can you say that place in Glasgow again? Wow.
Oh, the King Tut's Wah Wah Hut.
You could, if you've been going for as long as Saxon have at that point, you know, you're in a bit of Dougie doos, aren't you? You'll probably do anything to get out of it. But no.
My biggest issue with that single, and that for anyone that isn't aware, there was a Channel 4 documentary where it was Harvey Goldsmith they tied up with, but there was a series where people who had hit hard times, or bands or acts or whatever it was, met up with a guru of some sort. I think it was maybe him, the whole series, not 100% certain on that. And he would, you know, give them that kick that would, you know, send their fortunes soaring again. And I distinctly remember him calling the band pedestrian quite a lot in that programme, and Biff Byford really was about to slap him seriously hard.
But he must have known what was coming.
Yeah, but I don't think he expected to be told he was shit on the television programme. Does that make sense? I'm not convinced that, well, maybe that was. What really upsets me is it does actually coincide with when the band started to get their shit together in terms of the profile in the UK. And I would hate to think that piece of tact helped in any shape or form, because the music is what
I think, and I'm sure you're going to give your own thoughts. So I think the relentless touring.
Yep.
The relentless good guyery. That's a word I've just made up. You know. And that never give up, you know, never surrender. I realized that's a Galaxy Quest quote. Thank you. Again, excellent. I think people just thought, shit, you know, they're still going. I removed the old shit. I'll look at the new shit. Oh, that's good. Now, I remember seeing Saxon on the Inner Sanctum tour, and part with Master Plan in support, as I recall.
Wow.
But not the master plan that everybody remembers. Oh no! But anyway, so part way through, and I don't know if he does this every night, because some bands do the same shit every night and say the same shit every night, don't they? At some point, Biff just stopped there and looked at a very, very full Academy tour, and he just stopped and he looked around and he went, "We do have some fucking great songs, don't we?" You know, that is both self-aware and very, very true. And has actually grown to be more of a truism over the 20 years since then.
I think there's a UK or a British trait that Saxon have both been the butt of and then had the benefit of. And that is that we love a hero. Here in the UK, we love a hero. We love a homegrown hero. We love to build them up and say that they are the best thing and they're going to conquer the whole world. And 4 albums in and a live album, and that band was Saxon. And then what the UK press love to do is go, you're too big for your boots, and we're going to kick you until you fall. So it worked in the UK. I think it had a really big part to play in the fact that they did lose profile. They did end up on silly record labels and various things, because the UK press basically went, if you're listening to that, you have no idea what you're talking about. They're just absolute nonsense. They're yesterday's news. They're not even yesterday's news. And then what we love to do here in the UK is then go, remember those guys? Weren't those guys great? And you know what? They're still making some really nice music. And that, to me, has been the journey that Saxon have been on in terms of the press here in the UK. I think they've had a harder time than most bands from that era, you know, because they could have been the Def Leppard, they could have been the Iron Maiden, but they were the one that got the kicking instead. And then they're the one that have arguably weathered the storm in maybe the most even way in the long term out of the three bands. But there you go. That's my take on why we're now all lauding Saxon again, beyond the people who supported them during all that time as well.
Yeah, I think we are correct. I think between us, we've sorted the situation out, haven't we?
I would say.
I'd also just like to give a special mention, just with 2022 sensibilities on, to sixth form girls. Yeah, let's just remind ourselves of how that one goes, shall we? I feel like we should. Are we ready? Sixth form girls can't get out at night. Sixth form girls, so they keep them in. It's an awful sin. Should let them roam free. Their lights inside the dormitory when they go black. When they go black, you sneak away. Their plans are set, but they don't go out. What the fuck? Really? Really? Just for our American friends, sixth form girls are 16 to 18-year-olds. Now, it's that time where I drop a big, like Alice Cooper style name drop here. My cousin, let's call her Hillary, shall we? She vaguely knows Graham Oliver. And so he's gone from, you know, sixth form girls, and now he likes pottery. He writes about pottery. He's keen on pottery. Pottery's cool, I'm sure, but, you know, I'll tell you what, Pervy songs about 16-year-old girls, probably not cool.
No.
I mean, when I said probably, what I actually mean is not.
Not. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great tune, but nonetheless, you know, the lyrical contents are
not PC these days, right?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't have been PC then, but
no, it shouldn't. But it was a different time, right?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, Saxon were knocking on at that point, weren't they? You know, they've been around in various guises since about 1970. So, you know, they were probably all about 87 at that point, weren't they, when they made that, you know? So, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Cool.
Yeah. I've done for this particular section.
All right. Well, as we've said, this was pretty difficult. The favorites were hard enough. The least favorites were equally as hard because I don't hate any of these albums at all. So, but you got to pick two, right? So, Steven, if you could pull up Forever Free.
If you're Simon, no, you don't. You pick a covers
album
and a
it all
single.
Together, right? Yeah, Simon
covers album and a single.
Yeah.
You should be ashamed of yourself, Mr.
Simon pulled the Catino today, which is okay. It happens.
How many times do you read the comments and say, "Oh, I'm going to pull a Pardo"? So you can do whatever the fuck you want, my friend.
I tell you what. If I had my hat on, I would doff my cap to you, because if there was one catalogue to avoid pulling out the shit, because there's none, this was it. So I'm right with you in actual fact, because all I've done is made a fool of myself now, haven't I? I don't feel big or clever, and people are going to complain.
I had to pick two. So, Steven, if you could hold up Forever Free from 1992. Again, some really good songs on there. Some that are kind of iffy, right? I just, I kind of had to do this whole like Wade scale thing. It's like, well, how many songs do I kind of not care about much on that album? And there's just a few more on there. Plus, it's got that wonderful cover song, which yeah. And the cover is kind of shitty. So yeah. So that was my first one. And my other choice, sorry, Simon, but I went with Forever Free. I do like it though. I do like it.
It's destiny.
Honestly, it was between these two. It was between these two, which are the usual suspects.
What does it say? Forever or free?
Destiny.
Anyone? See, he just can't even get that right. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just completely wrong.
Well, like Simon said, this is a fun album. It is. I think maybe it's one of the two maybe least heavy albums. but it's more of its time. You know, I mean, this was what, 1988. I get it, right? I get it. Saxon were basically told, you know, you got to sell more records, you got to crank out some hits and all that kind of stuff. But by then they were done here in America already, which is a shame because I think this album might have been a decent seller here if it was released in this country and promoted. Because I think this was only available as an import here, if I remember correctly. Because I think everything after Innocence was very hard to get here. And, you know, we kind of ignored them. But, you know, the Christopher Cross cover is kind of interesting, right?
It's edgy as fuck in 1988.
Yeah, and really it's a great song anyway.
Really edgy shit.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever been described as edgy as fuck ever before or ever again.
That's how edgy it is. A Christopher Cross cover 7 years after anybody ever actually heard of him. Yeah. Mm.
But a good album nonetheless. But, you know, you got to pick some. And like I said, I struggled between these two. It's like, which one? It had to have been one of these two. I ultimately went with this one, but you can make a case where, you know, this one could be there as well. But again, I like both of them. I like all three of the ones I just mentioned. But you got to put a couple down near the bottom. So, and I almost chose the first album. That's kind of like an easy choice because that's like baby Saxon before they knew what the hell they were going to do, right? That's like choosing the very, very first, you know, Motorhead album that they did. It's like, you know, that also is like Motorhead trying to figure it all out. It's fun. It's not prime Motorhead. That first Saxon album is not prime Saxon, but it's still good, raw, really early heavy metal Saxon I can appreciate. So I went with those two. It could change any time, but like I said, I like them both. So I like all three actually. So it's kind of difficult, but back to the wild card. Now it gets even more fun now. Yes, it's like what the hell you choose, right?
Well, this is where the fun begins. Okay, really, because, and it's not my wild card. Okay, I mean, Simon's basically chosen music almost by other bands as his least favorite, so I can choose as many wild cards now as I want. Okay, so for the third time this show, this album is going to get a mention, but not because it's my wild card. Okay, it's not my wild card because this is just a good album, but it's an album of its time. Okay, that's what this is. Destiny came out at a time where UK bands were being, shall we say, encouraged to do something else. Okay, now in some instances that worked. Okay, in some instances it worked. Okay, right, because that's a UK band suddenly doing something different around the same kind of time. That works. Destiny doesn't. Okay, that's a UK band doing something slightly different to what they've done before. That works. This is all with the US market in mind. Okay, as is Destiny, because for some reason record labels over here thought that that's what the American market wanted. That's why you get albums like this. This did not work. This is a great album, by the way. Anyone that has not heard this Mama's Boys album, this is just an excuse to tell you how good an album this is. Okay, this is the best AOR album by UK band maybe ever. I love this album. Does it sound like the Mama's Boys? Not a chance. But the record label made them do it. Okay, so that's what was happening. That's why we got Destiny. And Destiny is really good. Is it one of my favourite two, like Simon? No. But there's not a single thing wrong with it. And it's a fantastic album that's hugely enjoyable. I could have gone with Carpe Diem as my wild card now, and I haven't because I don't want to not cheapen it. I don't want to make it sound like it's the quirky one of the pack that you maybe want to check out. This is, for want of a better turn of phrase, fucking awesome. Okay, it's just out, and if you haven't heard it, just get your shit together. Don't go listen to it on Spotify. Don't line it up on YouTube. Just buy the damn thing. If you're vaguely interested in what we've spoken about today, just buy it. Okay.
And I love your point with this, and I'll tell you why. Because it just came out. Most people are really digging it a lot, and I think to put it as a wild card cheapens it a little bit. Because if we were to do this all over again a year from now, that very well might wind up in my top two.
Yeah,
because I don't have the history with it yet. It's too early to tell, right?
Yes, absolutely. But it's got that initial impact. No two ways about it. Okay. Yeah. So the other thing to acknowledge about Saxon is that they have lots of great live albums. Okay. Now, it is also an excuse to show you the worst album cover possibly in the history of live albums, because what gives you that live vibe more than anything else? Yeah, well, it's them testing the lights and having dry ice before the band came out on stage. It's really good though, but it's not my wild card, okay? Because I take you right back to where I started. And where I started was with, I know what the best albums are, right? And the best albums are these. These are the best albums, okay? And if you want to be with yet one more of Steven Reid's fantastical theories, okay? If you take the best songs of these three albums, because this and the debut arrived basically within 2 years, okay? These three albums and the debut basically arrived within 2 years. So if you even cut them down and say, let's put two phenomenal albums out, this band are bigger than Maiden, okay? That's because there wouldn't be a single foot wrong there. There would not be a single foot wrong.
Yeah, if you take like the best 12 tracks from those couple of albums, you might have one of the greatest British heavy metal albums of all time, right? Yeah, which
you were on a really shitty record label, weren't they?
Yeah, we were on Carrere. We were a French label. Yeah. And I had a compilation that I meant to bring through, and I haven't, because I've basically brought through the entirety of the UK into this room here today. And that Career compilation features the band, the UK band Rage, not the German thrash band, Dokken, Demon, Rose Tattoo, and this lot. They had some damn great bands on that label, and they had not a fucking clue what to do with them. They could not promote them. They didn't know what to do with them. Dokken took the debut album to Elektra and re-recorded the songs that were on that compilation that I've got and gave them different lyrics and various things, because there were obviously rights issues and all this sort of stuff. And none of the great bands like Demon, maybe not quite Rage, I liked Rage, but they weren't a great band. Rose Tattoo had lots of potential, and this band were done a disservice by being on the wrong label. A label that gave them a chance, nonetheless, okay, but they were on the wrong label. Because this album here, and I've got 2 copies just because, well, one jumps, so I spent on another one. It's as simple as that. This is The Eagle Has Landed live. And other than the fact that for some strange reason, across the 10 tracks, you do not have Denim and Leather. And this was from the Denim and Leather tour.
Yeah.
It just makes absolutely zero sense, because it's such a great song. And it's an anthem, and everyone knows it's them. And it's just one of the stereotypical Saxon things. It's not bloody well on here. But what is Motorcycle Man with that phenomenal debut where it allows that. What a way to start the gig. 747, Strangers in the Night, Princess of the Night, Strong Arm of the Law, Heavy Metal Thunder, 20,000 Feet, Wheels of Steel, Never Surrender, Fire in the Sky, Machine Gun. That is gold. This album is absolute gold. And as a rule, we don't choose live albums as favourite or least favourite. I totally get why we're celebrating the studio catalogues of these bands. This is absolutely seminal to me, and I'm going to go out on limbs here and people can say what they want. We're looking at greatest live albums of the 70s here. Wow, that's a big thing to say. Not saying greatest, but one of the greatest. This album should have made this band utterly ginormous on a global scale. It's that good, and if you haven't heard it, just go hear it now. It's everything about it is right. The sound's great, the energy is great, the performances are off the scales. I love this album, absolutely love it. It's my wild card. There's nothing wild about it in that sense. It's just bloody fantastic. So that's my wild card. There you go, Nick. And there's loads of other great live albums too, but not with the ones that have the impact of that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. That album rivals some of the best single live albums in metal ever. Rivals Unleashed in the East, rivals No Sleep Till Hammersmith. Could have been a double, right? I mean, Jesus, because you got to have Denim and Leather on there. You could pick a couple of the tracks, make it a double. But as a single live album, it's all killer, no filler. Great. And right, almost every song that's on there could potentially be the definitive version of that song from that live album.
Yeah, the studio albums that they come from are fantastic. And I would argue that every version on that album betters them. Everyone.
Yep. Great choice. Great choice. All right, Simon, what do you got as a wild card?
Does make you wonder why they didn't release many more live albums. Hold on. They released one about 5 minutes ago. So, just say. Anyhow, yes. Simon's got lots to say in a second. Yeah, thank you. Simon time. No. Simon. Excellent. Good. Hey, I love recent records, don't you? And I love this recent one from 2011. Yeah. It's got Lord Kitchener on for a start, so that's always a bonus, isn't it? Call to Arms. Do you see what they did there? Our American friends. What a great opening. Thank you, Stephen. Hammer of the Gods back in 79, surviving against the odds. Holy shit! What they've been kicking ass for the last 20 years. This is just there's not much to say other than it's just like proper metal. Yeah. Proper metal played well. You like riffs? We've got 46 in every song. You know, Biff singing as well as he's ever done. Could he be called Biff today? If not, could he come out? No. Okay, moving along. Yeah, just say. And also, I've got a lot of time. My friends, for the re-recordings on Heavy Metal Thunder.
Mm-hmm. It's really good. Yeah.
It's like the greatest songs with actually like good production. This was really annoying. Well, I assume it was annoying the neighbours. They were out all week, and I assume they thought, "Oh fuck, Saxon's on again. I'm out of here," because I do tend to leave the doors open. So fuck them.
I think Simon, what actually happened was that they had their feet up on the couch with stripy spandex trousers on.
Yeah, that's probably it. I've no idea why the previous neighbours moved out last year. But anyway, moving along, it's got the greatest. It's just 13 great tunes and a bonus CD. All their top efforts with a 20-year-old production. I thoroughly recommend that Heavy Metal Thunder. But I tell you what I also like about Saxon. I mean, you know, it's kind of like Saxon's world and we just live in it. I think I've come to that conclusion over the last 6 or 7 weeks. And one of my very, very favorite things in the world, right? And it's not this actual album, it's a remake, an EP remake that Freedom Call did. And they thought to themselves, what do we need? We've got a song, right? And it needs a narration part. Now, Manowar went for Orson Welles. They went for Christopher Lee. Freedom Call went for Biff Byford. Biff is not a natural, but I wouldn't imagine he probably narrates his own Audible book. You know what I mean? And if you've ever heard him do the narration for the Tears of Tarragon, or as Biff calls it, the people are gone, it's just mind-blowingly good in a genuinely good way. I'm just saying. But yeah. I mean, you look through your Rolodex as you would have done back in the day. Biff, we're gonna have Biff do our thing, and seek it out if you can. And also, I didn't realize until relatively recently, despite owning this album for about 40 years, that Nigel Glockler is all over this.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's what he was doing before he never surrendered. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Slightly crazy woman. Robert Fripp's wife.
But lovely nonetheless.
Yes, very much so, yeah. Yeah, I actually saw her once, and she stopped the show and did the whole Teletubbies thing in the middle. So that was cool. But yeah, Saxon are everywhere, my friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you were a young band and you want some interesting element added to your album, just give the man a call and get your album biffed up. I'm here all week. Anyway,
it won't be next week.
We've managed to get all of this distance and talk about all this great music without mentioning the dichotomy that is Biff Byford's lyric writing, because some of them are absolute poetic genius. Broken Heroes, there's some songs, wow, oh man, and then there's things like Barnsley Big Teaser. Yes, there was 6 songs. Yeah, I mean, I know he didn't write all of those, but some of the lyrics that are across the Saxon albums, oh wow, are so bad, and others are absolutely outstandingly brilliant. Yeah. It's a really strange mix right across, you know.
Remember the Fallens, Not Great on Carpe Diem. It's a bit like on the nose, about the virus coming from across the China Sea. Really, Biff? Okay. Excellent. Yeah, a bit like, okay. But, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's running rampant on a lot of these older bands. I mean, if you read the lyrics on the new Scorpions album or the last couple of Accept albums, it's like, ugh, okay. But, we give that a pass a little bit. So, all right. I don't know what direction to go with on my wild card. I was almost going to do the live thing, and I'm glad I didn't, because I would have picked the same one as you did, Steven, because that's just fantastic, right? I decided instead to give, because I can, 2 picks here as a wild card, and one of them is from 1997, Unleash the Beast. Holy hell, this is heavy and crushing and just all late 90s power metal-y, right? And let's face it, that's probably one of the coolest covers in this discography. And Steven probably has a big LP he's going to show us where you can see it in all its glory, which is much better than my smaller CD. Yeah, look at that. I mean, how metal is that?
Yeah, and they've changed the coloration on some of these ones in this set. As I say, there's slightly different artwork on some of the albums. I suppose it's to try and give value in various things, because some of these probably never come out in vinyl first time round, but yeah, that's an absolute belter, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's just some great songs on here. Circle of Light, Unleash the Beast, right? The Preacher, Ministry of Fools. It's really strong. And again, it's one of those like late 90s albums that like nobody here in America heard at the time, unless you were like, going to buy the import somewhere. I mean, it was just, they were non-existent here, which is a real shame. So for me, it's been great to kind of go back and get some of these albums that I didn't hear when they came out, and thinking, Jesus, it's like everybody here was all into new metal and alternative rock. And so it's like, fuck all that, right? It's like, this is where the real deal was. So I wanted to give a little props to that, but I also wanted to give some props to one of the newer ones. And again, I didn't want to pick Carpe Diem for the reasons we said before, because I'm really enjoying that, and that in a little bit of time would probably rank pretty high. And a couple of the Thunderbolts, quite frankly, for me, could be like number 3 or 4 or 5 at some, relatively soon if it isn't already. So let's go one below that for 2015's Battering Ram, which again is easily for me a top 10 Saxon album. Could even be as high as 7, 6, or 5, perhaps. I don't know yet. I'd have to redo this whole catalog again, because I ranked the catalog, I don't know, like a year ago, and now it's like, I'm like, this might be a catalog that's ripe for the whole redoing here. But I mean, I remember when this came out, I was just like, again, we're riding the highs of like Sacrifice, Call to Arms, Lionheart, Into the Labyrinth, which are all really good, Inner Sanctum. And then this comes out, and it's like, and I'm pretty sure, was this the first one where Andy Sneap worked with them? I don't remember. I know he's worked on them. So it may have been the second one. I don't know. It's he's done the last 4 or 5. And I remember thinking, and I still do, that the production of these songs sound immense. I mean, the guitar sound, the riffs are just like, people are spooging all over, Firepower by Judas Priest, rightfully so. But man, we've been getting similar monstrous guitar tones out of Saxon for their last like handful of albums. So it's not like Andy's doing anything unusual or extraordinary with Priest. He's been doing it with these guys for a number of years now. So yeah, Battering Ram, if you haven't heard it, man, just some great songs in here. The title track just kills. Devil's Footprint, Destroyer, just Eye of the Storm, Kingdom of the Cross, just one classic track after another. So those are my cheating today to whatever we call them, wild cards. I was gonna keep on to say honorable mention, like, no, we don't call them that on the show. That's right, wild cards. There we go. So well, now we got that done after weeks of stress, right? Especially like the last 2 days. My God, what am I gonna put on for these? What order? Which 2? I don't know. So I think the moral of the story.
I feel the need now to actually think, well, we do this again tomorrow, so I can choose different ones. I could change all of the choices for all of the categories.
Very easy. Right?
Yeah.
So, Steven, you want to talk about the next band that we're doing this for?
Well, the next band we're doing this for, I believe, is one that splits opinions really quite massively. I think that most people who've stuck with Saxon will have roughly similar opinions to us. There's highs and lows. Everyone thinks there's highs and lows. We don't really. We kind of think it does that, to be fair, but we up here. But with Europe, most people have quite a fixed opinion about roughly what this band do, what they're about, and really where they come from in terms of sound and style. And they don't. They really don't. What they're best known for in the category is about that size.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really interesting category to rank a favourite, two favourites, two least favourites, and a wild card. Not the same amount to choose from, but man, oh man, there's some great albums in there as well. And same again, choose a clunker. Choose two. Okay, let's give it a go. Looking forward to it. So yes, everybody needs to start doing some proper Europe homework.
Yes. And I will say, going into this one, if all you know by Europe is stop right there. You're going to hear a lot about a lot of other things that isn't that. And if all you know is that and you don't like that, watch the show anyway, because hopefully you'll learn a little something about a great band that went on to do all sorts of different types of music that have really nothing to do with that. And it's like, that is kind of like this, like Steven just said, it's a really small part of a catalog where the rest of the catalog at the start and certainly at the latter part doesn't sound anything like that. And what's kind of the bread, think of the Final Countdown as like the stuff that's in the middle of the sandwich. The stuff that's on the outside, the bread, is pretty damn spectacular. Think of the best gourmet, what's the word, artisanal bread you could possibly imagine for a sandwich where maybe the stuff in the middle isn't great, but the bread is just outstanding. That's Europe for you. So
the stuff.
Doesn't you think the stuff in the middle is awesome?
Well, stuff in the middle is pretty good too, but what I'm trying, I'm probably
I'm not giving a steer, but I'm just saying.
I'm not giving a
steer, but yes, same again. They're another band who've done different styles and they've done them all spectacularly well. There you go.
Yeah. I said that because there are a lot of people that have an opinion and a misconceived notion about this particular band based on very little. And the stuff that they probably haven't heard, which is again at the beginning and towards the end, which if they really gave it a chance would probably really surprise them. So
I think as well, at the risk of starting the Europe show now, what upsets me about that era is that huge songs that everyone was listening to, that most of us were going out and buying, are now open season to call nonsense because they've been given the tag hair metal.
Yeah.
So if we'll pardon my language, if you can fuck off with the hair metal idea and just listen to the music and actually go, you know what, actually there's great melodies there and some really great playing, and man, oh man, there's a great guitar solos and things like that, then we can all move on from this, that was then, and grunge came along and shat on it, because, right? But anyway.
I will still say, to this day, the Final Countdown is a great song.
It's a great album too. But
it is.
It's a great song.
Yeah, it is. They have better though, in my opinion. But anyway, we're getting way too far.
Favorite.
Yes, favorites. Yes, yeah. It's a really good one because it's that's why it sold as many copies as it did, and that's the reason why most of society only knows that album. But they have others that are really good.
Before we go, can I point out that Fido had a bit of a bite?
Really?
No, you can't, Simon. Please don't.
Too late.
I took it back.
There we go. So there you have it, everybody. Celebrating the music of Saxon, a killer band that I've been pretty happy about revisiting their catalog once again in recent times, and hopefully this will prompt you to do as well. Down in the comments below, please list your two favorites, your two least favorites, and a wild card about the great band Saxon. And while you're at it, or in between, or afterwards, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here all together All the
All the damn time.
That's right. So stay tuned next Saturday for more from the UK Connection. For Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on Album Homework Assignment with Jim Bakke and Guitar Hack. That's coming up tomorrow morning. So we'll see you then. Take care.